Consumers have more options these days to stay powered. That's our Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us representing VTOMAN, VTOMAN, is Marty Winston. Hi, Marty.
Hello, Fred. How are you?
Terrific. Well, VTOMAN is a company, a global brand that's in the battery business, power stations, and such. Give us a bit more background, Marty.
Sure. They started with different kinds of power tools, some jump starters for cars, and things that had little motors and blowers in them. Most of those are not sold in the U.S. What has made a splash in the U.S. are their portable power stations, like the Jump 1800. These are using a new kind of, relatively new kind of battery, the fourth lithium variety called LiFePO4 for lithium iron phosphate. It holds a lot of charge. It can work at extended temperature ranges. It tends not to have the charge you put on it fade very soon at all, usually a scope of a year or two. And it puts a lot of power in a reasonably small box. That's 50 pounds of battery with electronics included.
Well, tell us about the capabilities of this. And you said this is the 1800. They have other models we'll talk about as well. But what can people do with this?
I like to characterize it as covering two classes of activities. One is when you're off the grid and you need AC power, 12-volt DC car-style power, or charging for USB connected devices, or when the grid is off and you need a backup. I have something similar to this Jump 1800 on the sump pumps in the basement. So in the event of a power failure and the rains that often come with it, the sump pump will still, and I've tried this, it works, still send the water out of the house. A refrigerator, we have a Frigidaire. It's a 300-watt fridge, but refrigerators don't run continuously. They run when they need to be cooled down after a while. So the calculation using Department of Energy data says this is good for 6 to 7 days of running a 300-watt Frigidaire refrigerator. Kind of nice, because if you allowed the food in there to go bad, the first $1,000 is deductible on the insurance.
Terrific. Those are great examples. And charging this, you have a number of options as well, right? Tell me about it.
Indeed, AC, plug it in the wall is a good way to do it. I will tell you, the brick, it's a laptop style brick that goes into it, gets warm. You know, it's doing its job. You can plug in solar panels. You can plug in all kinds of DC sources from 10 to 30 volts. And it also lets you charge it from a vehicle. Of those three, solar is the slowest, vehicles the middle, and by far the fastest is an AC recharge. On that subject, if you are likely to be away from power for a long time, again, either because of an outage or because you're off grid, and you have an older gasoline generator, powering on one of these, a Jump 1800, until it's exhausted makes a lot of sense, because you can then go outdoors where the carbon monoxide from the gas generator doesn't matter, recharge it, and still keep running for an extended period of time.
Interesting. Now, this model sells for about how much, Marty?
About $1,400 or $1,500. Prices have been changing. There was recently a flash sale for, I believe, $900. So keep an eye out. Sometimes there are bargains.
And this is actually expandable as well, right?
Yes, there's a companion box that looks a great deal like this, but it's mostly a container for a duplicate set of batteries. So instead of being limited to the capacity, the watt hours that's in a cell unit, you can double that by plugging in the companion box. What is coming up very soon is the Flash Speed 1500, which is, it looks a lot like this, except that it's got a place in the top where you can stow the 1 or 2 cords it's going to need, and handles are on the side. The Flash 1500's hallmark, instead of being 1800 watts, it's 1500 watts, and either of them offers double that at peak for things like motor starting and that kind of task. But the 1500 is 1500 watts, and its hallmark is that it can recharge to full in 1 hour if you're charging on AC. That's a lot less downtime and a lot more uptime than is usual in the category.
And there's so many different power stations out there, batteries that people can buy. What advantages does the company feel it has over the competition?
Value in terms of deliverable wattage and capacity per dollar. It's designed not to be cheap, but it's designed to have high value for the performance you get in the box.
And the 1500 model that's coming up, do we know pricing on that?
It's right now forecast to be about $100 more than this. But again, keep an eye on Amazon and VTOMAN, VTOMAN.com to see what the price is at the moment. I can say I've run into some fake sellers on eBay. So my recommendation is stay between Amazon and VTOMAN.com.
Good advice. Again, it's VTOMAN.com. And they, as you mentioned earlier, they've had quite a product range over the years too now.
Yes, and it's settling down to be the fewer choices. You learn from the market. You know, people want these in specific ranges. They want them in specific price points. And those are the two initiators of engineering design to make them happen at those price points in those power ranges. Let me also say, a lot of people think of these as taking over the whole house. This is 1800 watts. The whole house generator tends to be 23,000 watts. I wouldn't try that. Also, some of the things in homes that are on water wells, like the water pump, or in any home, the HVAC system, are going to draw a lot more current than these things can. If you're expecting longer, more frequent outages, or if you're places where electricity doesn't reach and you have gas available, this isn't something you would substitute for gas generator, but a gas generator is much more expensive. By the time you're considering buying 6 or 8 of these, a gas generator might be a good investment. I also want to say there are places that have generators, like hotels, and hotels have their wiring done such that guests hardly ever know there is an outage, except for the valet station. And one of these things that the valet station offers 2 functions. The technology there that lets the valet know which car to fetch and have all that happen does require power. This can keep it running for a very long time. But also, this particular unit can jumpstart 2 to 9 American cars, depending on the demand of the engine, its battery, and how long that particular car takes to crank, to turn over and start. For something that is only really considered for use during outages, the much greater frequency of having cars that need jumping suggests that it may be a good value to keep there in the meantime as well.
And maybe to open a garage or whatever, if the power goes out, that kind of thing too.
Indeed. At home, the lighting, the internet, keep that going for weeks if you have a typical system. This does have a light on the back. It's 50 pounds, so I'm not going to reach over with one arm and turn it around, but it has 5 modes, which are kind of bright, medium, dim, strobing, and SOS. Now, I would caution you that you can send an SOS signal, and if you don't have people who already know Morse code, they may not recognize it, but at least it's there. And with SOS patterns, of course, the lighting lasts longer on any particular charge level. The front panel, which I suppose I could turn on here, gives the status of the charge, lets you know which, if any, of the outputs you're using, tells you how long before it's charged, how long it's before it's discharged, and it's pretty useful. Although I have to say, you get to 99%, and that last 1% seems to take most of a couple of hours. I'm not sure if that's the battery deciding I'm going to take it slow right now, or if it's something else happening. But I've had this charged from a variety of sources. I've tried solar on it. I've had it on a bench in the garage. I've done all of that stuff. Oh, speaking of garages, speaking of power outages, these batteries, unlike the lithium cells that you find heat, the lithium ion cells that you find heat destroying, uh, are good to, I believe it's 260 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're carrying this around in that heat, the battery going is the least of your worries.
I would say so.
It's also good, I believe, to 40 below zero. Yeah. In terms of wetness, I would not put it in a pond. It's not absolutely leak proof. If you're going to use it outdoors, put something over it. An umbrella would be fine. And like anything electrical, don't let the kids play with it. Don't open it up. There are easy ways to put a screwdriver in between contacts and short things out for anybody who doesn't know what they're doing. And it's too well engineered to let it suffer that kind of fate. For people who use it normally, 24-month warranty.
Just terrific. And again, it's great for maybe even for the yard, if you're doing stuff outside or at a campsite, wherever you happen to be going.
I bought two electrically powered things for the yard. One of them mulches leaves down into little tiny, almost cereal size pieces. The other one takes branches up to about this big around and chips them. Both of them want long extension cords. And as you know, the longer the extension cord, the less power gets delivered to the far end. I can bring this out to where those things are and run them on it without needing an extension cord. At the same time, I can put an extension cord on this and it will keep going. It does pass through. That UPS kind of mode switches over from the line to battery generated pure sine wave power in something like, I believe it's 30 milliseconds. You can't hiccup that fast.
Just terrific. Again, the website is VTOMAN.com, VTOMAN.com. Marty Winston, thanks for spending time with us.
Fred, always my pleasure. Thank you.